Hello, everyone. This is Jerry O'Donnell, and I'm doing this on Elijah, the call of a prophet. And this is when Elijah raised this woman's son from the dead. And there's so many points, so many things that we can learn as prophetic people through Elijah. And so, anyway, I'll start off by reading some of the scriptures, and then so this is 1 Kings 17. I'll start at 18. And he said unto Elijah, What have I to do with you, O man of God? Are you come here to call my sin to remembrance and slay my son? She's starting out accusing Elijah of slaying her son. And he said to her, Give me your son. And he took him out of her bosom and carried him up into a loft where he abode and laid him upon his own bed. Notice he laid him upon his own bed. There's a lot in that, and you'll see. And you would think, well, that don't matter. What does that matter? He laid him on his own bed. But anyway, and he cried unto the Lord and said, O Lord my God, have you brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourn by slaying her son? And he stretched himself upon the child, get this, 3 times, and cried unto the Lord and said, O Lord my God, I pray thee, let this child's soul come unto him again. And the Lord heard the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came into him again, and he revived. And Elijah took the child and brought him down out of the chamber into the house and delivered him into his mother. And Elijah said, See, your son lives. And the woman said to Elijah, Now by this I know that thou art a man of God, and that the word of the Lord is in your mouth is truth. Basically, she said, I know that the words that you speak come to pass. It's another way of saying it. And here's the deal. Elijah was definitely a prophet of God, and he did exploits. And he thought it was bad that this son, this child, whom he sojourned with and was kind of in her house, that he he thought it was really bad that this child died at his watch. And so anyway, this is what happened. So how many people would pray for somebody like this? Take the lad, put him on his own bed, lay on top of him, and then pray. And then when nothing happened, to continue to pray a second time and then a third time. That shows the prophet has long suffering, endurance, perseverance. I mean, these are qualities that you need to have if you're going to do what Elijah did. And anyway, I had a scenario. You know how it says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, the word of our testimony, loving not our life unto death. Well, one day I was pretty upset. I needed tires on my car, and so I asked the Lord. And anyway, I went to this tire company, and the guy, cursed me out and said, "Why don't you break down and buy new tires and all?" But when the man said that, it witnessed to me, and so I put the old tires back in the car and went home and said, "Okay, Lord, I'll believe you for the tires. What do you want me to do?" And the Lord said, "I want you to be a missionary for a couple of days." And I said, "Okay, Lord." And this man called me up and asked me if I would be a missionary for a couple of days because there was a hurricane, and at the time it was Hugo. And he said, we are going to get the community gathered presents for the children that lost their homes and lost all that they had. And we would just distribute it to these little children. And would you help to pass them out? And I said, yes. And so he picked me up with this other guy, and we went in his truck and had all this stuff and went down there. Well, the Lord told me before I left, he gave me a word of knowledge that we weren't going to stay where this man thought we were going to stay, with the people there. And what he did is, there was a man, and right before this hurricane, he was cleaning out the gutters on his house. And he was a man of faith, and he was told by God, don't leave your house. If you stay with your house, I'll protect it. If you leave, your house will be destroyed. So this man stayed in the house, and his house, not even a shingle was blown off his house. It remained. And it was very amazing. So anyway, when we went down there, FEMA had housed these children and these people that lost, these families that lost their houses in this place. And that's where we were going to distribute the presents and all. But it was so crowded that we couldn't even stay there. And so this man, he stopped and he said, I'm going to call this guy and see, he's a friend of mine, and maybe he'll let me stay there. And it was a fisherman. But see, I had already had the word of knowledge that we were going to stay with the fisherman. So anyway, so the man was gracious and said, yeah, come on, you can stay in my lounge. And so we went there. It was kind of late at night, and we all had sleeping bags, and we were going to sleep in the lounge on the floor. It had carpet and all, so it wasn't too bad. And we all started laying down there. We said a little prayer. He went in his room. Anyway, he come back out, and he said that the Lord spoke to him, and he said, this man right here, and he pointed to me, and he said, he can't sleep on the floor. He has to sleep on my son's bed. Now, remember Elijah? He put the lad on the bed of the son. Anyway, and so this guy owns the house and all. He makes the rules, so I just went along with him and went into his son's bedroom and lay down. It was a real nice, comfortable bed. I was like, oh, this will be easy, and I'll go to sleep. Well, anyway, the Lord kind of rebuked me and said, what are you doing? He said, you got to pray for the son, that he's dying, and pray that I restore him, that he might live. And so I started to intercede, and I prayed for this man's son, who, man, I could feel it all. It was, oh, geez, the spirit of intercession was on me. And anyway, the Lord was gracious and healed this man's son. And when I was leaving, he asked me for my address, and I gave my address. And this man sent me the money that I needed for my tires, and he sent me over $3,000. And it was because he was so grateful that his son was healed. But anyway, and he put in there that you should spend this money on personal items, and it was my tires. But this was a man of faith, and you know what? I learned so much by sleeping on his son's bed, that a lot of times where we sleep, it's very important, and that perseverance and that endurance is what the prophets of our day will need to accomplish the kingdom. It's not an easy thing. But think of how many times you had to dip 7 times in the Jordan, and how many times you had to do certain things, and those are the things that we must learn, and we must get it right. We must hear the word of the Lord and obey it and do it. And even if it's tough, And the thing is the more we do those things that God tells us to do, the more we build up our faith and the more we see God move. And but anyway, I thank you for tuning in, and may God bless.